Let's take your English to the next level today. I'm going to teach you 10 of some of the best verbs that you can use in your everyday conversations. But I absolutely promise you, these are not the verbs that you find in a textbook or in a dictionary. These are the ones that you'll hear in real conversation. If you find yourself listening to a podcast in English, watching a show, or just speaking with a new acquaintance, you're bound to hear these 10 verbs in your conversation. Let's get started. The first verb is to jog someone's memory or to jog your own memory. So, to jog, usually when we think of someone jogging, you think of them running at a leisurely pace for exercise. I'm going to go for a jog. This means I'm going to go run outside. Now, when we use jog here, we're not talking about running, but we're talking about going through events that have happened in the past to help us remember something.
Again, just to jog your memory.
If you have met a person before and they told you a personal story, maybe they told you about a place that they visited once and they tell you all about it. And then the next time you see them, they'll say, "Hey, remember when I was telling you about that trip I took?" And you say, "Can you kind of jog my memory?" That means, can you give me a few details to help me remember what you were talking about? And they start speaking and they say, the vacation that I took when my family came with and it was really hot. And you go, "Oh, yes, 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 I remember. Thank you for jogging my memory." It just means thank you for helping me remember what you said. If you're about to have a meeting at work, you're meeting with a client, you're meeting with your boss, and you want to think about what you talked about the last time, you might say, "Let me just look at my notes from our last meeting so I can jog my memory." This just means help me remember things that have happened in the past. So you're either looking over notes, you're asking someone to kind of summarize things for you just to help you remember. And usually, if you are able to jog your memory, it means you are able to get what you're trying to remember back into your brain, and it's like something triggers it. This is an awesome advanced phrase, and I hope that you add it to your vocabulary because you can use this in so many different scenarios when you're trying to remember something, or if you're trying to help someone else remember something. You might say, "Let me help jog your memory." A really advanced phrase that we can use in English is to go in with a mindset. The most popular way I hear this phrase used is you say, "I'm going to go in with a positive mindset." So this is used when you're going into any sort of situation, like a meeting or a negotiation, or maybe you're going into a new job. You're starting this thing, and instead of going into the situation being negative, thinking this isn't going to go well, you kind of give yourself a pep talk and you say, "I'm going to go in with a positive mindset." So you're going to act like everything's going to be great. You're trying to be happy. You're trying to just picture everything going well. You're going in with a positive mindset. You might say to someone, "Hey, don't go in with a negative mindset." This means, of course, the exact opposite. Don't go in thinking things are going to go bad and, everyone's against you. Try to be positive. So you can use this phrase with all sorts of attitudes and emotion. Like, don't go in with a scared mindset. Don't go in with a nervous mindset. Make sure to go in with an excited mindset. Make sure to go in with an energetic mindset. See, there's so many different ways that you can use this phrase when you're approaching a new situation or you're giving advice to someone approaching a new situation or negotiation or whatever it might be. This next phrasal verb is crucial for you to understand while you're speaking English. If someone says that they want to get ahead, do you know exactly what they're talking about?
You work hard, you get ahead.
When people are young, before they have families, before they have kids, they try to get ahead in their careers by working long hours. So to get ahead, it means make improvement and get above other people in their career field. This phrase is almost exclusively used when we're talking about jobs or careers or money and success. You might say, "I'm trying to get ahead on my bills." This means you're trying to save money so that you can pay off all of your expenses and not feel like you're always living paycheck to paycheck, which is another phrase I'll teach you now. If you live paycheck to paycheck, it just means that you have no extra money at the end of your paycheck to spend on fun things or to save. You're just always waiting for the next paycheck so that you can pay off your expenses. So if you're trying to get ahead, it means maybe you're working extra or you're trying to earn extra money to be more successful or to have some savings so that you can improve your life. This phrase is all about improving our lives and trying to succeed. Instead of just saying that we're going to present something or we're going to explain something, native English speakers will often say we're going to lay out data or we're going to lay out the problem. And this is just used to replace the phrase to explain it. We're going to lay it out for you. And when we use this phrase, it's often used because we're trying to break it down very simply for the person because we really want them to understand.
So I'm just going to lay this right out.
In this phrase, it's very blunt. So let's say you are talking to your boss at work and you are trying to explain to them why you deserve more money, why you deserve a raise. And you give them all the justifications, all the reasons, all the examples of your hard work and success. And at the end, they still seem unconvinced. So you might say, let me lay it out for you. Without me, this company would not be successful. So it's kind of like at the end of explaining things, you're trying to make one last simple point by saying, let me lay it out for you. This just means let me explain it to you and let me explain it to you in the most simplest terms I can explain it. One really good phrasal verb that's used very commonly is when we're trying to get into a program or get into a school. This means you are trying to be accepted. Oftentimes, people, when they're trying to get a master's degree or even a PhD, more education, they say, I am trying to get into a master's program or I'm trying to get into a PhD program. This means you're doing lots of applying and working on your resume a lot.
When I get into Princeton, I'm never coming back.
If you're ready for college and you get rejected from a college, you might say, I did not get into the school I applied for. So really, this phrase, to get into things, it's used to talk about university programs or any sort of training program, but we don't say, I'm going to get into this job. This is usually a different scenario. You wouldn't use this phrase here, only when we're talking about academic programs or any sort of training programs. There's two phrases here that I want you to be aware of that English speakers use all the time to mean we're going to start researching something. So we use jump into or dive into. I'm going to jump into this book. I'm going to jump into this data. Or you can say, I'm going to dive into it.
Ready to dive into the online dating world?
When you use these two phrases, instead of just saying, I'm going to start to research it, when you say jump into or dive into, it means you're very enthusiastic or excited about what you're researching or what kind of data you're going through. A really important phrasal verb is the phrasal verb to play out. This is very advanced, so take notes as I explain this here. When we talk about events playing out, it means that we are going to watch how things naturally happen. We're not going to intervene. Or oftentimes we say, oh, this always kind of plays out the same way. It means there's a pattern or a typical way that this thing happens. Let me give you an example because I understand this is a difficult phrase at first. So I'm talking about my kids here. I have 3 children, and whenever one of them gets a new toy, the same thing always plays out. They always fight over it because the other 2 are jealous, that one has a new toy and, I have to say, take turns, make sure you share. So the same situation plays out every time here.
Wait, let's see how this plays out.
So another way that you can use this phrase is when you are urging someone not to take any action before they see what the result of things are first. So you might say, hey, let's just see what plays out here. The kid's got a new toy, but we're going to see if they fight over it or if they can get along. So that just means that you're not going to intervene or try to put yourself in the situation before you see the result of what happens. And I told you the same thing plays out every time. My kids usually fight over the one new toy, even though, of course, I have so many different toys to play with. If you've ever heard the phrase to come out of something, you might have heard it in a context where someone is in some sort of negative state or a different mental state, and all of a sudden they come out of it and they are cleared up or in a better situation. A lot of times when people go through a divorce or a breakup, they come out of it stronger, meaning it's a very dark and very depressing time for them, But at the end, when they are all healed, their emotions are healed, they are stronger. So they come out of it stronger. You're talking about the result after a tough situation. We use this in medical situations as well. If someone's in a coma, they're basically unconscious, sleeping for a long time. Usually there's medical comas. We say, when are they going to come out of their coma? Which means when are they going to be awake and clear-minded? We also talk about coming out of a depression, meaning, either you get some treatment or you're just happier all of a sudden. You come out of this bad state.
I've come out the other side a little bit stronger.
If you've never heard the verb to stoop, let me break it down to you, and I'm going to explain a really great phrase that you can use with it. So normally when we say that somebody is stooping, it means they're kind of bending over, like, let me stoop down to get the coin. It's not really frequently used, but once in a while you hear it. It's kind of like you're bending your neck and you're getting low. Sometimes when we use the verb to stoop, we're talking about lowering your moral standards or your beliefs. So a lot of times this phrase is used, we say, I'm not going to stoop that low. This means no matter the situation, I am not going to lower my moral standards. Perhaps you have a coworker and they start spreading rumors around the office about you. And you say, I am not going to do anything like that. I'm not going to do anything wrong like that. I will not stoop to their level. So it's like you're insulting their behavior, their morals. You're saying what they're doing isn't right. And just because they're doing it, I'm not going to stoop that low and do it. Do you know what it means to count something? Of course, you know it as 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. But let's talk about, more importantly, what it means in certain contexts. So usually if we're counting things, we mean that we are including it as a group, or we're including it as passing to be something. So maybe you'll say this work doesn't really count as good work. This means it doesn't really pass as good work. It's not included in the category of good work.
That doesn't count.
Maybe your boss says, you're like employee of the week. You say, does that count as a real award? This means, does it really pass? Is it official? So we use this phrasal verb to count as something in many different ways. So it's really important that you know the context when you use to count, because oftentimes it does not have to do with numbers. Thank you so much for learning these 10 verbs with me. I hope that they really help you level up your English, and I'd love to see you join my membership on EnglishWithKayla.com. You can join the English Vocabulary Help Vault membership. You get access to all my past lessons, and every week I'll release a new lesson to the Vault. You'll get PDFs that go along with it, you'll get community support, and you'll get access to me to ask questions about the different phrases in the lessons. I can't wait to see you guys in the next lesson, and thanks for learning with me. Goodbye!